Shalom, Hebrews and Hebrews. Welcome to the channel. This is Oilfield Disciple. We're going to do another ride-along chat here. Got a few things I want to talk about. So let me flip the camera around. You can see what I see. We'll cruise down the old dirt roads and we'll talk about it. I got a few minutes here before I get to my next lease. And I've just been kind of watching and paying attention to what's going on in our world. And it's getting interesting. I'll say that. The other day we talked about finances and inflation and whatnot. And today I kind of want to talk a little bit about that, but kind of go a little deeper and go a little further of what I see all this looks like. And I could be off base, I could be wrong, but it's something that you should definitely think about because it's quite possible. As we look at all the cargo ships that are off our ports here in America, hundreds of them that are stuck out at sea a few miles off the coast and they can't get to port to unload. I believe that's by design. It's not an accident. I think what it looks like is we're being bottlenecked. And what I mean by that is they are taking certain elements and events and creating a crisis. The Hegelian dialect. If anybody's not heard of the Hegelian dialect, here's what it is. It's a philosophy by Georg. It's almost spelled like George, but it doesn't have the E on the end, so it's Georg Hegelian. Or not Hegelian. Georg Hegel was his name, and therefore we get the Hegelian dialect. And he was a philosopher, and his philosophy in this had three parts. It had a thesis, a synthesis, and an antithesis, or synthesis, antithesis, and synthesis. You can go look this up. I have a hard time saying those words. So you got a thesis, antithesis, and a synthesis. And the thesis is you take a rogue government like ours, and I promise you we have a rogue government. They are not concerned with our Constitution, nor are they following our Constitution. They're doing what they want. And that's proven just by the executive orders that are being signed. I didn't agree with Trump signing the executive orders, and I don't agree with Biden signing the executive orders. Just like I don't agree with mandates. The executive branch does not have the authority to make laws. There's a due process for a law to go into effect. I'm not going to get into that, but let's go back to the Hegelian dialect. This rogue government creates a crisis or an emergency, such as CB19er, and that crisis and emergency through propaganda and lies and fear begin to control the citizens, control the masses, simply by fear of death. If you get this, you're going to die. If you catch it, you're going to give it to your grandmother, and she's going to die. You're going to give it to your grandpa, and he's going to die. And you're going to kill everybody. Okay? They've created an enemy. That's the antithesis. Making an enemy that the public fears or hates. And in this, creating this crisis and emergency, and then the antithesis, creating the enemy, all in the name of public health. Now they can create a dialogue, an agenda that the public, the citizens, will go along with and agree to, that without this made up, created crisis, the population would never agree to any agenda like this. And it's similar to the analogy of the frog in the boiling water. You throw a frog in boiling water on the stove, as soon as he hits the boiling water, he's going to jump out. But you put that same frog in lukewarm water, room temperature water, and then turn the heat up, and the frog will sit there. And as the water heats up, he will adapt to the water heating up and get used to it, be normalized to him, until the water begins to boil, and then he boils to death. Same thing's happening here. Same thing with this Hegelian dialect. Okay, and now we have a crisis. We have an emergency, which is the virus. And then we create the enemy for the public to hate or fear or both. Now we come up with a solution. That's the agenda. Give me just a minute here. I got to get a gate. Okay, so the solution. Well, what's the solution? Well, in the agenda, through propaganda and fear, now we got a Pokemon jab. It's a cure-all. Everybody gotta get the Pokemon jab. But the one Pokemon jab's not enough. You get a second Pokemon jab. Oh, that's not enough. Gotta get a third Pokemon jab. Gotta get them old rocket boosters going on. And they continue to spread these propaganda lies and fear to the public that they are working diligently for your safety and for your health. And in this, let's continue to create more crises, more problems. They've shut down businesses for over a year, or for almost a year. Many states still shut down. Some states, not so much. Either way, it's putting a crunch on our infrastructure of operations. Now we've got coming food shortages into the winter. We've created another enemy in this. China is acting up. The war drums are banging, and so every time we start to they start to see the public not necessarily following their agenda, and their agenda's not working, they create a new little enemy for the public to be distracted with. And all these are just really distractions, honestly. And for whatever reason, they are pushing this Pokemon for everyone to get. Why? You should ask yourself that. Why are they so diligent about everyone having this Pokemon? There's a thing called herd immunity. And the herd immunity is that if enough of the population has contracted a virus and survived it and got over it, their body creates antibodies, and their immune system becomes strong to it. And so they're kind of like a shield to those who have not contracted it, and those who can't really, their immune systems are weak and it's harder for them to handle it. But this mass number of people that do become what known as herd immunity, and they protect those around them through their own immune system. It's a viable way that the Lord has created His creation, and it works just fine. You should ask yourself, I get the Pokemon, then they want me to get another Pokemon. Now they're telling me I gotta get booster rockets. I'm kind of talking in code here, otherwise they will pull this video down. So you gotta kind of stay with me here. now we got food shortages. We got war banging at our gates. We got ammo shortages. All sorts of shortages on the shelves. We've got inflation that's going rampant, and they're pushing all this. That's what I mean by bottleneck. They're pushing all this to where it's and the other thing, all the worker shortages that have refused the Pokemon sticker, the jobs that are not getting done, the airline strikes that said no, not going to do it. First of all, when it first came out, it was bad weather. Why they had to shut down 2,000 flights in one day and cancel those 2,000 flights. Then it come out that the pilots were not going to take the Pokemon sticker, and they had vacation time and sick time built up, and they were taking all their vacation and sick time before the November 4th deadline of having to take Pokemon. And that once that came out, that kind of broke their original story. So you see, they're already lying to you. And once somebody lies to you once, and you believe them a second time fully without question, you're ignorant. You have no sense. And that's what's going on. They lied to you once. Why are you not questioning them on anything they say now? So we got worker shortages, food shortages, war at our doors, Pokemon stickers with booster rockets being forced and shoved down our throats. That being the solution. They've divided the nation by the those that believe and those that don't believe in this. Beavers. So we've got that to contend with. And now we're looking at foods being short at the shelves. And as they begin to spread that fear, it's causing people to panic buy. And I've already seen the shelves at the grocery stores and convenience stores and box stores. I've already seen the shelves completely empty when this first started and people panicked. And when the masses panic, there ain't enough to go around. And so what I mean by bottleneck is they're creating all these little crises to scare us and fear us into control when there's no food on the shelves, or little food on the shelves, and no end in sight for them to be refilled. And when they do get product in, the inflation rate has went up extreme. Now you got to feed your family. Now they can throw in some more of these unlawful executive orders and mandates. We're the government. We're here to help. Ronald Reagan said those are the scariest words you'll ever hear. And you should better take heed to it. Because we're looking at a future of, okay, if you want your weekly allotment of food that we are here to help you with, we're going to need you to get that Pokemon sticker and show evidence of it. No different than in Germany in the late 1930s, early 40s. You had to have papers proving that you were a full-blood, blue-eyed, blonde-haired German of the superior race to move about the country freely without being tossed in jail and then eventually taken to a gas chamber or firing squad or whatnot. Same thing, same exact thing. And if you'll go study how Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany in the early to mid 1930s, he came into power on the premise that he was going to fix Germany's poverty. He was going to fix everything that has suppressed the German people since World War I, and the people began to love him. And he began removing and taking out of the way the police officers and the government officials that would oppose him, and he replaced them with his own that had pledged allegiance to him. That if he said shoot yourself, they would shoot themselves. That's how loyal that people were to Hitler, and that's how he came into power. And once he became full authority in Germany, then the people were doomed. And the people didn't stand up as this went along, because he was putting into place, finally people were getting food on their tables, and Germany began to prosper again. It was quite remarkable how he was able to do what he done, if you go study it. He was a madman, but he was very methodical in how he did what he did, and by the grace of the Most High, why he didn't take over the entire world. But if you look at how he was defeated in a couple of front lines of battle, one of them was an extreme winter hit in Russia, where he was about to get to Moscow, and an extreme winter hit, and the troops weren't equipped to handle it, and they ran out of gas. They weren't able to get gas to the front lines to his machinery, and that's what he had. He had remarkable tanks and cannons and all that, high above what he was fighting against in Russia. But once he ran out of fuel and he couldn't refuel his mechanized army, then Russia was able to repel him, because Russia was used to it. And so he was defeated there. I can't remember where he was at, but he was unable to get food to his troops. And sickness and disease went rampant through his lines. I can't remember exactly. You guys go look it up. But anyway, by the grace of God, a couple of key elements happened that caused Hitler to fail. And then, of course, America, one of the biggest things that hurt Hitler, had they had left the United States alone and not done what they done in Pearl Harbor for another year, maybe a year and a half, and continue to take and control these small little countries over in Europe, then attacked America, the United States, it probably would have been a different outcome. But because they pissed off the sleeping giant, the United States got into the war, and he had too many frontline battles in too many areas, and he spread his troops too thin. And of course, his allies, they just weren't up to the task of defeating the United States. We had some big wars in World War II that were key, that we were able to be successful in. But as I look at history, and I know, I'm more like Samuel Clemens when he said, history may not repeat itself, but it sure in hell rhymes. Okay? Biblically speaking, I look at the Bible in the culture of Israel, the nation of Israel. They went through these same cycles. Prosperity, and I've said that a bunch here. Prosperity, forgetting about God bringing on nations to overcome them because of their disobedience. Then suppression and oppression, slavery, and just being crushed, to praying to God and getting back to what God said do, and then God brought them back up out of that slavery, where they would prosper for a time, and this cycle goes on and on and on. Well, look at the United States. We've had a grand time of our prosperity. Looking at our culture versus any of the cultures in the past history, mountains above it. I mean, mountains above it. we are one of the most prosperous, powerful, authoritative nations in history. And we have been for a long time. Well, the cycles say we have to fall. It's just, it has to happen sooner or later. I've got to get a drink here. And so I'm going to try to finish this video up here real quick and go get me a drink. Do you see what I'm saying about being bottlenecked? Their agenda is to get everyone Pokemon. And their plan was quite calculated. Create the fear, the problem, and then create a Pokemon quickly and offer it. And all of the goats rush down and get it. Those who don't get it voluntarily get offered a monetary incentive. If you'll go get it, we'll give you money for it. We'll put your name in a lottery. So they incentivize it with money. The root of evil is the love of money. That's what Paul says to Timothy in the letter to Timothy. And so that coerces a small percentage of the population to go get it. They look around, they still haven't got the number they want. And so now they begin being a little more urgent about it. We're going to mandate that if you don't get it, you're not going to be able to have a job, because we're going to fine these companies that have 100 employees or more. The fine for your employees not being back Pokemon is outrageous. I think it was like $700,000 was the fine to these companies that wouldn't force their employees either get it or you're gone. You don't work here no more. Well, that goes against the Constitution, against unreasonable searches and seizures, but also bails and fines that are exceedingly high. I can't think of the exact wording. But a judge can't just throw $1 billion fine on you because he don't like you. There's a standard in a statute of the amount of fine for every criminal offense. And a criminal offense is a law that has went through the due process of going through the legislation process to become law. And when someone breaks it, there's a standard for the punishment and the consequences of it. But we've thrown all that out because we're a rogue government and do what we want. And we just sign a document and now it's law. Well, that's not. It's unlawful. It's a suggestion, these mandates. But anyway, so now that's where we're at. And we're having extreme job losses and whatnot. They're going to get more forceful about this. They may make it, this is what it could look like. They may make it where you can't leave your immediate community. They may start by you can't leave your state if you're not Pokemon. And when that don't get enough of them to go get Pokemon, you can't leave your county unless you're Pokemon. And then that's not going to be enough. Now they'll go, I believe they're going to get so far as we look in Australia, they have to have paperwork that says they're allowed to go more than so far from their house, which is very, very minimal, maybe a couple of blocks radius from your house, if you don't have paperwork proving where you live. And it's ridiculous in Australia. We can start to see that here. they're going to, they know they can't just outright make firearms illegal. It'll cause too much of an uprising and a problem for them. So what they're going to do is they're going to begin making mandates or laws that that you have to pay extreme taxes on any firearms or ammunition. Make it to the point where the average guy that just has a 22, maybe a shotgun in their home, ain't going to pay that, and so they'll give up their firearms that way. And they know they're not going to get the ones that are dedicated to having firearms, dedicated to the Second Amendment, like myself, and they'll tax the living hell out of it, giving them the opportunity to be more forceful against the population, against the citizens. They're going to continue to use racial division to keep us divided, sexual orientation to keep us divided, the virus itself, wear a diaper on your face or don't wear a diaper on your face, all these things to keep us divided, and we as the people, if we're not careful, we'll be kind of like Hitler was in World War II. We'll have too many wars going on too many fronts, and we won't be able to handle all of it. Along with that, we'll be divided amongst ourselves, and it will make it easier for this agenda, this great reset, to take over and go into effect. But we have hope, y'all. Check it. Check it, check it, check it. Let's go here to the good word of the Lord. Come on, man. Psalms 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, who abides under the shadow of the Almighty. He is saying of Yahweh, my refuge, my stronghold, my Elohim, in whom I trust. For he delivers you from the snare of the trapper. From the destructive pestilence, he covers you with his pinion, and under his wings you take refuge. His truth is a shield and armor, and you are not afraid of the dread of night, of the arrow that flies by day, of the pestilence that walks in darkness, of destruction that ravages at midday. 8,000 fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it does not come near you. For only with your eyes you look on and see the reward of the wrong ones, because you have made Yahweh, my refuge, the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil befall you, and a plague does not come near your tent. For he commands his messengers concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. They bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You tread upon the lion and cobra, young lion and serpent you trample underfoot. Because he cleaves to me in love, therefore I deliver him. I set him on high, because he has known my name. And when he calls on me, I answer him. I am with him in distress, and I deliver him and esteem him. With long life I satisfy him and show him my deliverance. Okay. We've got the pestilence that walks in darkness. That's a made up, glorified virus, because it destructs. It's destroying in the daylight. We're going to see 1,000 fall at our side. 1,000 brothers fall at our side. Yet 10,000 at our right hand. Our right hand is the mercy and also the judgment. So that would be our enemy. So 1,000 brothers fall, but 10,000 of our enemy falls. in our eyes, we look on and see the reward of the wrong ones. This Pokemon is very dangerous, y'all. I've been looking at some of the effects, the side effects, the issues that it's creating. Listened to one doctor one time here a couple months ago. I even introduced it into one of the weekly messages to the assembly. But if the shot's not given correctly, I wish I hadn't said that. If the Pokemon's not given correctly, it causes blood clots, and blood clots go to the heart and kill the person. I'm also seeing reports of doctors putting the actual Pokemon juice under a microscope and looking at it, and they're seeing this organism, this aluminum squid-like organism. One doctor said that as she looked at it, it was so spooky because it almost was like the organism knew she was watching it. And however that looks, I don't know. And I haven't been able to confirm this completely. Although I'm like 96% positive that it's right, it's true. But again, I haven't totally confirmed it. Either way, what are they putting into our bodies? It's spooky. And so we will see with our eyes. You look on and see the reward of the wrong ones. What's the reward of the wrong ones? That's death. There's a verse of scripture in the Bible that tells me in the days leading up to and right before Yeshua comes back, that men will beg to die, but death will elude them. What in the hell is that? Have you ever thought of that? It's in Revelation. It says death will elude them. Well, how can death elude you when you're begging to die? It's only one of two things. It's either you don't have you refuse to end your own life because of your religious beliefs and thinking. The issue itself doesn't take your life, or on the other hand, it's something that has invaded your flesh, and no matter what you do, hang yourself, shoot yourself, throw yourself off a cliff, your body continues to be aware of itself and refuses to die. What the hell is that? What does it look like? So see, we've got some scary things coming on, but I also have to understand, and you have to understand, that in these days, God's going to be working supernaturally. And all these things are going to be happening at a rapid pace, just like we were talking about the birth pains the other day. They start out sporadic, but then they become more calculated and more intense and more in number. Solomon writes in Ecclesiastes that there's nothing new under the sun. What was will once be again, is what Scripture says. I don't think we're going to see anything that hasn't already been, because that would cause issue with some of these scriptures, which were like Solomon saying, nothing new under the sun. We're not going to see new things. But I believe also from some of the research I've been doing over the last couple of months that we have been so lied to from the word go that we don't know come here from Sikkim. when it comes to historical events and historical things. You've got the Egyptians and the hieroglyphics of Egyptian tombs of what looks like people holding cell phones and computer laptops, airplanes, and whatnot. You have, on the same token, you have these beings that are completely foreign to us, beings that are like dogmen. They have the heads of a dog but the body of man. Elephant mans. You get the head of, you see that in the Indian culture, and I don't mean Indian as in Native Americans. I'm talking Indian as in India. Through the worship of Buddha, you have these beings that were had the head of an elephant with the body of man and whatnot. And so if we have been suppressed in our understanding and knowledge of historical beings like that, then they once were, and they will be again. Take the flood of Noah. When it says Noah was perfect in his generations, doesn't mean what you think it means. It means that he was not, it doesn't mean that he was a righteous man in the fact that he didn't do anything wrong. He was right on with God. Now, he was right on with God, but he was still a flawed man, just like any of the rest of us. Well, perfect means perfect. Jesus was perfect, and the only perfect one. Scripture tells us that. Noah being perfect in his generations meant that his DNA, his genetic makeup of what God created in the beginning had not been altered or otherwise. That's what it meant with Noah being perfect. Meaning, all the rest of the people, with the exception of probably a minute amount of others who just refused to see the truth, it means everyone else were corrupted in their DNA and their genetic makeup, and they weren't of God. They weren't creations of God, but creations of the enemy, the fallen angels. Jesus says, just as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. Well, we take that as when God said in Noah's time that there was only evil continually upon the earth. Only evil continually upon the earth. And it repented him that he had made mankind. We take that as our times are going to be wicked and evil. Yes, that comes into all these fronts, these war fronts that we're dealing with. Yeah, there'll be wickedness. Like I talked about the other day, pedophilia is not far off from being legalized. Pedophilia, homosexuality, murders, neighbors hating neighbors, all this. But just as it was in the days of Noah, I believe we're going to begin seeing these altered individuals. Transhumanism, if you go look that up right now, they're messing with some really dark and crazy stuff. CERN, not even sure what that is, but it makes me get goosebumps when I talk about it and I look at it. So it's something wicked and evil. What was will be again. And as these begin to get closer to the time of our master return, it's going to get more and more intense and become faster and faster. And we're going to become more and more oppressed and suppressed. We're going to be forced to flee. That's why Yahweh give us appointed times to celebrate Him. And we have Sukkot at the end of the year, the harvest time. Ain't that fun? Ain't that interesting that Yeshua fulfilled the spring feasts? All of them to the T. And the fall feast, harvest, is yet to be fulfilled. And the fall feast is what teaches us how to flee. Because you take most city people, they don't have a clue what to do if they're out in the woods. They may be able to go to the range in the city in their little building where it's got all its safety features and everything's just no wind, no rain, no elements, and shoot, and they're a good shot, and they could probably take down a deer or an elk or a cow or whatever. But then that's it. That's the extent of their knowledge. They don't know what to do with that beast that they brought down with their firearm. Or they might have seen some fishing shows on TV and they kind of got a half-assed clue of how to fish, and they accidentally catch a fish. But then what? How do you clean the fish? How do you cook it? How do you preserve it? All these things. See, Yahweh give us this feast day to go and practice. And I know people go camping other than the feast day. I get you. So don't go banging down, hammering down on me for that. But Yahweh, if you look around, more and more people are starting to keep his feast days. More and more people are starting to come to the Torah. It's kind of a revival looking thing. It's slow. I mean, it's sparse. When me and my wife first started observing Torah, doing away with Christmas and Easter, and following his feast days, we thought we were the only ones. Oh no. There was a lot around us in our immediate area that did the same and had been doing the same for years. They're just so suppressed by our communities that most people don't recognize them or know about them or know about us. But I'm making a big wave. I'm making a big fuss here. We'll see what happens. I'm really interested. But anyway, I'm going to shut this video down. I didn't realize we went 42 minutes, y'all. Thank y'all for sticking with me. Thank you for diligently watching and praying for me and encouraging me with your comments and emails. Questions. I love questions. Y'all be blessed, be encouraged, and always be frustrated. Soul-filled disciple, and I will catch you guys on the next ride.